Mistake number one, taking advice from people who have no alignment of interest with you. This is a horrible mistake I see many of the decibels make. When they come into my office, I first ask them, where else have you been getting your financial and investment advice? Too often, they reveal that they've been taking advice from the Main Street financial advisor who their brother in law recommended 10 years ago after they graduated from the same college or some other low level connection in life. I immediately cringe. I point out, does this person have the same level of investing knowledge and capital as you have? To which they always reply, no. For how could they? These financial advisors are also pushed on the decimal by some relative or friend, so they feel obligated to work with them. They are all too proud to admit that they don't understand where their investments are going or what they're even invested into. Most people I talk to are just appeasing the surface level conversation because they don't want to upset anyone or disrupt the status quo. Here's the reality. People who are selling financial advice are being paid on commissions. And obviously, the financial investments that they're going to recommend give them the most commissions. It's just like a doctor who prescribes a prescription because they're getting a kickback from the pharmaceutical company. For the masses and the middle class, this is widely accepted investment convention. I'm not saying that financial advisors are wrong for all people. It's just when you're protecting a $100 million plus family legacy, you need to seek advice from someone who has an alignment of interest with you in some way. Of course, just like the political media, the financial media is biased too, conflicting middle-class investors by rolling out Warren Buffett to hold long term. Simultaneously, shows like Fast Money glamorize fast profits fueled by leverage that would make even a Latin American country wince. Turn on Bloomberg television, and you'll hear someone, wearing glasses, with a pretentious accent talk down to you using words unfamiliar to you. How do you build a legacy off of that? Media and corporations often persuade financial advisors who work for themselves, so you don't know if they're getting an unjaded, unbiased, or any sort of unconvoluted financial advice. In building your investing legacy, you want to go with someone who has a track record of handling other family funds for high net worth individuals. I have this experience, but the truth is there aren't many of us. Suppose you're managing a large family office. In that case, you need to be extra careful about whose advice you're taking, because 99.99% of the population will not understand the level of wealth you are maintaining or the psychological, sociological, and economic pressures you face. It's not your fault if you've been making this mistake. Almost everyone does until they meet someone who shows them that there's a better way. You may have been pressured into following the advice of a financial advisor who was recommended to you by a friend or a relative, and you just wanted to be calm and relaxed about it. But when your investing legacy is at stake, it's more important than ever to wake up and realize that you're in the wrong conversation. Following the wrong advice here will cost you more than just a loss of money. We're talking about your legacy. The risk is just too high. When you take advice from someone who is not trained, vetted, or successful with family offices or family funds, it's like rolling the dice in Vegas. You're opening yourself up to risks that are too great to gamble. This mistake shows up and it has a devastating impact on your ability to leave an investing legacy. Sell-side investment professionals such as brokers are commissioned. As we've already discussed, they are now incentivized to recommend products where their wallets will be padded the most. Why wouldn't they? These financial advisors do not have the exact alignment of interest as you do as the one who writes the check. They are often not running calculated or methodical, well-thought-out strategies to insulate you from the risk that is far from anything financial. The risks are never as symmetric as they appear, and sometimes a shiny object today could lose its luster very quickly. This haphazard approach not only is incredibly careless, but it often results in poor transaction selection. For example, if you wanted to start a foundation with your name and you wanted to fund it, which assets would you invest into to make sure that your 50-year plan doesn't fall off the tracks because the government said tenants don't have to pay rent anymore? Numbers were created to persuade you to influence others and say, I have more than you do. Today, financial models can make any investment look as safe as you want it to be. If you're taking advice from a financial advisor who may give you data and think that you see the whole picture, you're not looking at the numbers dispassionately. You're making an emotional decision, and no one is guiding you towards clear, level-headed long-term thinking. That's not their job. The financial advisor is just showing you the data and the numbers without supporting you in the most important part, how to evaluate what those numbers mean accurately. You're then what I call quantsplained into committing without having all the facts as they relate to you and your situation. When you're not getting the right advice, you will never be able to accurately evaluate or understand the risks. It's the same thing with the financial press, as their advertisers pay them to sell stocks. Another reason why relying on those financial advisors is so disastrous is that you don't know the hard questions. Most of the time, you don't even know the investments you are making and whether or not it will make it for a long-term legacy-building master plan. How can you build your grand design when the architect is barely a bricklayer? Think about that for a moment. When you aim to build an investing legacy, make sure you're being advised by someone as a guide with a track record of success.